talk about Kelvin Sheppard. So, look, I, I think I think um, when you look at Calvin Sheppard and the way that he has coached throughout his career, um, he's been a great linebackers coach. I think that when you look at Calvin Sheppard, you look at the development of a guy like Jack Campbell. You look at a guy like Alex Anzalone, who has gotten a ton better under Calvin Sheppard. Um, you look at guys like Zeke Turner. Look at the linebackers they had come in last year, late in the year, that were just throw-ins. A guy like Zeke Turner who made a huge play against Green Bay. Um, Look, Calvin Sheppard doesn't have any experience as a DC. Um, and it's interesting because I think Aaron Glenn is going to be the harder guy to replace in terms of the coordinators. I love Ben Johnson. I love Aaron Glenn as coordinators. I feel like Aaron Glenn is going to be the tougher to replace because of what he could do as a as a guy that could lead a defense. Last year was not easy for any defensive coordinator to come in here and coach his team to win 15 games, win the number one overall seed. And then you're talking about a defense that is decimated by injuries. They had their 7 of their original front 7 were injured. They had 9 they started with at the end of the preseason. 7 of them got hurt at some point in the season. And, guys like Mekhi Wingo were looking good, gone. Ali McNeil, gone. Aiden Hutchinson, obviously gone. Derek Barnes, gone. Malcolm Rodriguez, gone. You'll never see a better coaching performance from a guy like Aaron Glenn, who, let's be honest, a lot of Lions fans were not happy with Aaron Glenn throughout his entire career as the defensive coordinator with the Detroit Lions. But one thing you did know about Aaron Glenn was he was going to have the team ready to play. And even though the talent didn't match what the offensive talent is on the field, you saw the defense play to a level where they could help Detroit win. Detroit was going to have to score points because the defense was not firing on all cylinders. When you're missing half your guys, you're missing half your pass rush. You're missing your star defensive end in Aiden Hutchinson. You're missing your defensive end, your defensive tackle, and Lee McNeil late in the year. Missing guys like Barnes and Rodrigo, and you're kind of throwing guys in there. I mean, at the end of the year, I remember the Packers game. My cousin comes to me. He says, "Who's this guy?" Ezekiel Turner. I didn't know who Ezekiel Turner was either. I mean, I looked him up and I figured out that who he was. But when you're in the moment, you go, Quan Alexander. I remember him 10 years ago. Jamal Adams. I remember him 10 years ago as a safety. They're playing linebacker in that game, and it just goes to show you how great of a job that Mr. Aaron Glenn did for the Detroit Lions. So when we look at Calvin Sheppard, it's very easy to see this is his coaching philosophy. And when you look at the coaching philosophy that Calvin Sheppard has, it's effort, unity, and relentless. And those are things that I think Aaron Glenn had the same thing, unity, effort, and relentless. But when you're a coach, there's defensive guys that are always going to back defensive guys, and I think that when Steve Spagnuolo said this, I took a little more credence into what Calvin Sheppard is going to be, because you listen to Calvin Sheppard and you say he's a leader of men. He played in the locker room. He played in the NFL. He knows what it's about. He knows how to get these guys hyped and fired up. And Steve Spagnuolo said something that makes complete sense. Spags on Sheppard, to me, Calvin Sheppard will be a head coach in this league, in my opinion. And look, I love Steve Spagnuolo. I truly do. I think he's one of the best defensive coordinators in the entire NFL. Obviously, when you win the Super Bowls that he has won as a defensive coordinator, it's a pretty good barometer of how good of a defensive coordinator you are. But Steve Spagnuolo is a genius, and he's always been a genius. And if there's one thing that I could hope Kelvin Sheppard uses from a Steve Spagnuolo defense, it's the blitzing, like the blitzing, the exotic blitzes. If you could use some of those into your packages with the defensive talent that this team has, oh boy, that's gonna be that'll be very, very nice for the Detroit Lions. And Aaron Glenn, he was also a guy who said something great about Sheppard. He said he's tough, he's gritty, he understands the ball from a number of different perspectives. I just totally have a lot of confidence in that man, and I think he's going to do a hell of a job. Replacing a guy like Aaron Glenn, who I think a lot of Lions fans totally dismissed. Aaron Glenn was a guy who got the raw end of the deal because he didn't have the defensive talent that the offense has. He just didn't. Like, you look at the offense and you go, Goff is a top 10 quarterback. Gibbs and Montgomery, they're great. The offensive line, great. Wide receivers, St. Brown, J-Mo, Tim Patrick. A couple years ago, Josh Reynolds, Laporta. Those are great weapons to have. But with the defense, I felt like it was always lacking, right? You didn't have the corners until last year. And you were still starting a rookie cornerback. We were waiting on Jack Campbell to develop. We were waiting on Aiden Hutchinson to hit the next gear. Ali McNeil has his best year ever, and he gets hurt. Glenn didn't really get to see the end of the road with what this defense could really be. And I feel like that's a disservice to him. But Sheppard emphasizes unity and relentless effort, stating, "This is one unit, and we're going to move as one in everything we do. Absolutely relentless effort, non-negotiable." He sets high standards, insisting on accountability and precision. As linebacker Zeke Turner noted, the minimal room for error in Sheppard's system. Sheppard credits mentors like Don Capers, who was on this. He was a senior assistant on this Detroit Lions team in 2020. His coaching approach, focusing on building a defense characterized by toughness and tenacity. Sheppard has been instrumental in developing linebackers like Alex Anzalone, Melvin Rodriguez, Jack Campbell, contributing to the defense resilience even amid injuries. His influence extends to new players like Ahmed Hassan, who earning his trust through dedication, aligning with Sheppard's emphasis on effort and cohesion. And when you look at the 2025 season, what this Kelvin Sheppard guy is going to have to do, he's going to have to come into a job in his first go around and really nail it. He's going to have to really nail it. Kelvin Sheppard's going to have to be really good. And a lot of people are going to always harp on the defense because we know the offense is going to go, 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 go. But I think the defense can be special. I think Hutchinson is going to come back stronger than ever. I think Ali McNeil, when he comes back, is going to be really, really good still. And I look at a guy like Tyleik Williams. I think Tyleik Williams is going to be one of the better players that we've drafted, especially in his first year. So we'll see where that goes.